San Fierro. Carl meets Cesar and Kendall at the garage and finds out that it is derelict. He gets angry, but his sister calms him down and tells him that they can make it into a successful chop shop. Carl recruits some of the Truth's acquaintances, namely mechanics Dwayne and Jethro, and electronics expert Zero, to help him get the garage working. Shortly after, Tenpenny calls Carl to tell him it is time to use the marijuana acquired from the Truth and order him to plant them in the trunk of a district attorney's car because he has been investigating him and Pulaski. Carl does as he is told, and the attorney is arrested. Later, Tenpenny and Pulaski pay Carl a surprise visit, this time demanding that he follows a reporter who has been investigating them back to Los Santos, where he kills both him and a journalist he is meeting with. During his time in San Fierro, CJ purchases Zero's RC shop and helps him win an RC model war against his rival Berkeley, and earns the trust and respect of Woozy and the Triads after helping them win a gang war against a Vietnamese gang called the Da Nang Boys. One day, Cesar calls CJ to inform him of a ballast car seen leaving the Mulholland intersection and heading towards the countryside. They follow it to Angel Pine, where the Hay take photos of a meeting between Ryder and some other men. CJ and Cesar soon learn that the men, Jizzy B, T-Bone Mendez, and Mike Toreno, are the leaders of the Loco Syndicate, an organization supplying crack cocaine to Big Smoke, Ryder, and the Ballas. Deciding to eliminate the organization, Carl first infiltrates it by offering his services to Jizzy. After several missions for the organization, CJ eventually earns their trust, before turning on them and killing Jizzy. From Jizzy's phone, CJ then learns about the Syndicate's next meeting with the Ballas, which he ambushes with the help of Cesar and the Triads, killing both T-Bone and Ryder. Carl later destroys Toreno's helicopter, seemingly killing him, as well as the Syndicate's drug factory, putting them out of business. With the Loco Syndicate eliminated, CJ focuses on earning money through his garage business. He buys the Wang Cars dealership and attends the driving school to learn some advanced driving techniques that later help him and Cesar steal various cars for the dealership, Tierra Robata and Bone County. Sometime later, CJ receives a phone call from a man using a digitally distorted voice, demanding that he come to a ranch in Tierra Robata. There, Carl is surprised to find Toreno still alive, who reveals himself as the caller. Toreno explains to CJ that Sweet is in a prison upstate, but is safe, and that Officer Ralph Pendlebury, whose murder CRASH threatened to frame Carl for, was killed under Tenpenny's orders, due to threatening to bring him before the Internal Affairs. Toreno proceeds to explain that he is an undercover government agent and demands that CJ assists him with several shady operations in exchange for Sweet's freedom. With no other choice, Carl agrees and performs several jobs for Toreno. He is later asked to buy an abandoned airfield in the desert and learn to fly planes and helicopters, which helps him with his next set of missions for Toreno. While at the airstrip, CJ is visited by the Truth, who asks for his help in stealing a $60 million jetpack from Area 69. Carl then uses the jetpack to also steal a mysterious green substance from a military train and deliver it to the Truth, who lets him keep the jetpack before parting ways. Las Venturas. Shortly after, CJ receives a call from Woozy, who is now a successful businessman and has opened a casino in Las Venturas, telling Carl to come visit him. CJ moves to Las Venturas, only to discover that the casino business is not doing as well as intended, due to facing opposition from the Leone, Sindaco, and Forelli mafia families of Liberty City. Carl agrees to assist and helps defend Woozy and the casino from rival mob families, including scaring their underboss into revealing what family he is working for, and destroying a Sindaco-controlled plastics factory producing fake chips planned to be smuggled into his casino. As revenge, Carl helps Woozy plan a robbery of the rival Caligula's casino, which is run by the mob. He performs numerous jobs in preparation for the heist, such as stealing some dynamite, photographing the plans of the casino, stealing swipe card for the casino from a croupier, setting explosives at the city dam that will destroy the generators and cut off the electricity, stealing some HPV 1000 police bikes for the getaway, and hijacking an armored van using a Leviathan helicopter and respraying it with the Caligula's casino logo. Later, Carl receives a call from the Truth, who reveals that the previous night he traveled into the desert with a British band called the Gurning Chimps, but after smoking some peyote, they all fell unconscious. Truth tells Carl he is in Los Santos with almost no memories of the night before or how he got there. He then asks CJ to save the band's manager, Kent Paul, and lead singer Macker from the desert, which he does, bringing them to Caligula's casino, where Paul's old friend, Ken Rosenberg, is working as the manager. Seeing this as another opportunity to infiltrate, CJ begins working with Ken in order to earn the mob's trust. Soon learning that Ken has been chosen by each mafia family as a neutral party to run the casino on each family's behalf, and that he is threatened with death should any war between the three mafia families begin. Soon, a conflict begins between the Sindaco and the Leone families, which escalates into a war between all three families, prompting the Leone family's Don, Salvatore Leone, to travel to Las Venturas and take over Caligula's. CJ offers his services to Salvatore, who employs to help him in his conflict with the other two families so that he would gain more control over the casino. He first sends Carl to kill several hitmen arriving in the city by plane, and later to travel to Liberty City to assassinate the Forelli family's Don, Marco Forelli. During his mission to assassinate Marco, CJ also helps Ken, Paul, and Macer escape from the mob by faking their deaths and telling them to flee Las Venturas. Having earned Salvatore's trust, CJ decides it is time to rob Caligula's. Aided by Woozy, Zero, and the Triads, the heist is carried out successfully, weakening the mob and allowing the Triads to freely run their casino. Woozy asks Carl to become his business partner, and he accepts, with the pair starting to run the casino together. CJ receives a threatening call from Salvatore, but ignores him, cutting all his ties with the mob. During his time in Las Venturas, CJ also meets the rapper Mad Dog and saves him from a suicide attempt, having fallen into depression after Carl unwillingly destroyed his career while helping OG Locke. Carl is later summoned by Tenpenny and Pulaski for one final job and is ordered to kill a DEA agent and collect a dossier. Carl collects the dossier, and Tenpenny asks him to meet him in a deserted village in the desert to hand it over. Once there, however, CJ is betrayed by Tenpenny, who leaves Pulaski to kill and bury him, along with Hernandez, who secretly informed the internal affairs of his partner's corruption. Carl is saved by Hernandez, who is killed by Pulaski in the process, before pursuing and killing Pulaski. With Woozy's casino a success, Carl finds the task of running it boring, as both he and Kendall wish to return to Los Santos. CJ is surprised when Mad Dog, having returned from rehab, visits him and asks him to become his manager and restore his career. Carl agrees and returns to Los Santos with Kendall and Cesar, where he reclaims Dog's mansion from the Vagos, to whom he sold it for drugs, with the help of the Triads. He then calls Ken Rosenberg, Kent Paul, and Macker, who have also arrived in Los Santos, and recruits them to work for Mad Dog and help him restore his career. Returned to Los Santos, CJ soon receives a surprise visit from Toreno, who demands one last favor: to steal a military jet from the LHD-069 amphibious assault ship anchored at the Easter Basin Naval Base and use it to destroy a flotilla of spy ships. Carl does so, and Toreno keeps his promise by having Sweet released early. Carl goes to pick up his brother and tries to impress him with all the businesses he got since he left Los Santos, telling him about his garage in San Fierro, the casino in Las Venturas, and the management of Mad Dog. However, Sweet is not happy with Carl's new lifestyle, which has led him to neglect the gang. To prove his loyalty, Carl takes his brother back to Ganton, and they work together to reclaim Grove Street from the Ballas, re-establishing the Grove Street families. The Johnson brothers then begin to reclaim their gang's turf from their rivals and attempt to track down Big Smoke. Learning that former gang member B. Dupe is working for him, CJ and Sweet go to confront him in the hopes of learning about Smoke's whereabouts, but to no avail. Still, they manage to convince Big Bear to quit drugs and rejoin the gang. Later, CJ also helps Sweet take over Idlewood from the Ballas, and Mad Dog to exact his revenge on OG Locke, who goes bankrupt whilst Dog officially restarts his rapping career, taking almost all of Los Santos from them. Meanwhile, Tenpenny is arrested and put on trial for several charges, but is acquitted due to lack of evidence. This angers the people of Los Santos, leading to a citywide riot. During this time, Carl helps Cesar reclaim his gang's turf from the Vagos and continues taking over more territories from the Balas and Vagos, until the Grove Street families become powerful enough for Sweet to learn Big Smoke's whereabouts. The Johnson brothers head to Smoke's crack palace to kill him for his betrayal of the gang, but CJ apologizes to Sweet and convinces to let him deal with Smoke on his own, to make up for all his mistakes. Fighting his way through the fortress, Carl eventually confronts Big Smoke and attempts to reason with him, but he opens fire on CJ. In the ensuing firefight, Carl fatally shoots Smoke, who admits to having betrayed the gang for money and proclaims that, "Everybody will remember my name, Big Smoke," before dying. As Carl laments Smoke's death, claiming it was a waste, Tenpenny arrives to collect his share of Smoke's money from the drug trade and hold Carl at gunpoint to load the money into his briefcase, intending to use it to flee the city. He then attempts to kill Carl, but he survives. Tenpenny then attempts to escape in a stolen fire truck, but Sweet grabs hold of the truck's ladder. Carl follows them in a car and manages to catch Sweet when he loses his grip. The brothers then pursue Tenpenny together, with Sweet taking the wheel, while Carl shoots at pursuing police officers and rioting gang members. Tenpenny soon loses control of the fire truck and crashes off the bridge over Grove Street. After claiming that he cleaned up the streets, Tenpenny finally dies, as CJ, his friends and family watch. The Truth congratulates Carl on beating the system before they head into the Johnson house to celebrate. Carl, Sweet, Kendall, and Cesar are next seen discussing what their future holds, when Mad Dog, Ken Rosenberg, Kent Paul, and Macker appear, with Dog proudly showing off his first gold record. As his friends and family begin to celebrate, CJ heads outside, claiming he's fittin' to hit the block, see what's happening. With Tenpenny dead, the riots come to an end, and justice is finally restored in Los Santos.